Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. For those of you that have not been on this channel from the beginning and just join along the ride, at the beginning of the channel I did a lot of video on the channel named A Nigerian Perspective with Frank Steffen. And he's a Christian from Nigeria based on the title of the entire channel. And he talks mostly about the leftist liberal stuff, I guess, in the West and I guess some other stuff in Nigeria is he has a lot of videos about Muslims and like the hypocrisy in the hypocrisy of their religion and all that. And basically that's what we're getting into in this video. So he's reacting to a video by Cruz and it's like a Jubilee, but it's like a African centric or maybe just Nigeria. And they're bringing Muslims and ex-Muslim. And we're gonna watch his reaction to the video. And I think this is just one of the questions, not all of it, because it's like an hour long. It's just separating them by questions.
About the statement.
There is no valid reason to leave Islam at any point. If I know something is totally right and I'm ready to go into that thing, to practice that, then at no point in time should I say no. If at any point in time I choose to leave that, then that means fundamentally that thing is definitely, there's something wrong, either with my knowledge of that thing or meaning there is fundamentally something wrong somewhere.
What he said is correct, and if you're a Muslim or a practitioner of a monotheistic religion, this should be your position. I find it really interesting that other Muslims on this panel didn't raise their hand in agreement with this prompt. He says there is no valid reason to leave Islam. He didn't say there is no reason to leave Islam. Those two are different. There are reasons to leave any religion, even Christianity, but are those reasons valid? I don't think that's always the case. A valid argument is based on the truth. So if based on the truth you believe that there are reasons to leave your religion, why remain? How can someone stay in a religion they believe could be proven wrong with valid reasons? Well, let's find out.
Interesting prompt. There's no valid reason to leave Islam. I think there's multiple reasons that are valid to leave Islam, and not just Islam, Christianity too, and not just Christianity, a lot of religions.
Who have reasons for leaving Islam, and the reasons are not actually because of the fault of Islam. No, it is not because Islam is faulty.
Definitely.
The people might have less understanding about certain aspect of the religion, and for someone who doesn't understand Islam, it might be a reason for them to leave Islam. And other reason is because of the behavior of Muslims. Yeah, there are extreme Muslims everywhere.
Because they don't understand it or judge it based on the conduct of others who practice it. But are those reasons valid? I don't think so. We don't define a religion by misconceptions and misappropriation. I don't think this guy is paying attention to the word valid. And that's understandable. It's easy to miss.
I think that's actually a valid reason. Let's say, for example, you realize that you're in a cult. It's technically still a cult religion. You could switch it out whether you want it. A cult, and you realize you're in a cult and there's some bad stuff going on. Is it a valid reason to leave? Yes, it's a valid reason to leave. Even if we believe that, oh my goodness, the God that we're worshiping in this cult is real and you're still a theist, is it a valid reason to leave the cult? Yes, it is. If you believe in Islam, but you see some random stupidness that people are doing in the mosque and you see this is not right, it's a valid reason to leave the religion. You could still be an agnostic, not agnostic, a theist, not believing in any specific God. So it is a valid reason. That to an extent is based on a personal level, I guess. If it's a valid reason for you to leave the religion.
Miss that under this circumstance. Some might even accuse me of being pedantic, but I'm not. A valid reason is very different from just a mere reason. But I think the last Muslim has a better explanation for why a Muslim who still believes in Islam will believe that there is a valid reason to leave the religion.
Religion is very personal. We cannot say there is no valid reason for you to make a personal decision And just because it doesn't sit well with me or just because I'm not happy with it, that makes it a wrong reason. People decide to make certain big decisions based on life experiences and things that have happened to them. It would hurt if somebody you care deeply for and you were both in the same religion decides to move to another religion. Why? It would hurt because you understand that I feel this certain peace with this religion. How come you don't feel it? And you feel this need to want to preach to them, to want to see the bright side, to want to see the good side. But I think that's where we get it wrong. I completely disagree because I was a Christian and now I'm Muslim. I had a valid reason for leaving Christianity. They would have valid reasons for leaving Islam, and it's peculiar and personal to them. So we can't decide what's right and what's wrong. At the end of the day, it's your relationship between you and God, whatever God you serve.
Exactly. It's religious relativism that will make a Muslim hold such a position. But that's not an Islamic principle. Islam does not promote pluralism. Anyone who isn't a Muslim is deaf, dumb, and blind. And those are the
Yeah, that wasn't the question. You see, it wasn't saying does Islam permit people to leave Islam. Last I checked, the question was asked for is there a valid reason? Asking them on a personal level, is there a valid reason? Now you could take it from the first guy from an Islamic perspective using the Quran and say there should be no valid reason. If there is a valid reason, why you're even in the religion to begin with? What which is kind of stupid to begin with. Like what it's saying doesn't make any sense. Saying that we're looking for the truth in religion when you're not. The religion exists to begin with to make you feel, to an extent, better about your life, to give you fake purposes, even though you're the one giving it to yourself. But that aside, if you want to look at it from a Quran perspective and say this and that, okay, that's not what the question is asking. It's asking on a personal level, is there a valid reason to leave Islam? And if a Muslim said, well, there isn't, that's their personal opinion. And if another one says, well, that depends on who you're asking. That depends on who exactly leave Islam. Each people have different reason. Just like you could leave Islam and become an atheist, and you could leave Islam to become a Christian. Clearly, those are two different reasons. Or maybe they the same reasons and people come to different places. It's personal.
words of Allah. The Quran itself declares that their reason to disbelieve is not valid, and it has harsh words for the disbelievers. See, believing that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger comes with terms and conditions, and one of them is viewing disbelievers as the worst of creatures. If you object, just know that you are objecting to the words of Allah, and that's not allowed in Islam. You must follow all the teachings of the Quran. You don't get to pick and choose. Otherwise, you are what Surah 2 calls a hypocrite. And that's not my judgment. That is the judgment of the Quran. But hopefully, we should get valid reasons to leave Islam from the ex-Muslims. So let's see what they have to say.
As an
Yeah, this is the interesting thing. This is what I pointed out. That the hypocrisy, uh, every time I react on his channel, the hypocrisy in him talking about there's no value, talking about, following everything in the Quran. Muslims should be following everything in the Quran while he's a Christian and is now owning a slave. He's a Christian, hoping he doesn't treat his wife, if he has one, as a property. Like you're not following everything in the Bible, and you're making excuses for the reason, excuses for why you're not following them. So to say, oh, all Muslims must follow everything in the Quran is kind of not looking at what you're doing, but not following everything in the Bible.
Ex-Muslim who was born into like a neutral religion household. My mom's a Christian, my dad's a Muslim. I actually had like a taste of both religions before I got into the university. The time I was in secondary school, I always get like a comment like, oh, Demi, you do not know how to pray well, you're not bowing well, you're not doing this well enough. There were times I always tried to improve on myself, but still, I still needed someone to show me. They were never interested.
So essentially, she left Islam because no one was around to raise her in the Islamic way. Is that a valid reason? No, but I understand her
Yes, it is for her. Yeah, that's the interesting thing, by the way, that you there people have to be there to teach you how to find God, even though He's apparently showing up to everyone. You apparently have to have faith to believe in this God, but they have to teach you how to walk in the way of God. They have to teach you. Someone has to teach you this, even though we're to believe He exists and He wants to have some relationship. He wants us to worship Him. But people have to teach you exactly, all this in and out. It doesn't make sense. And yes, that's a valid reason for her to leave Islam. If she's not getting the attention needed to actually understand it, how can you expect her to continue to be a Muslim when she's not sure what being a Muslim means? And this is the weird thing about religion. Some people in the religion don't see that it's actually just like a community. If people in the community are labeling you as an outcast because you don't know how to pray, blah, 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 you're most likely going to end up leaving because it's stupid to stay. A community is supposed to be supporting you and be there for you, not be sending you away because you don't know how to pray. So it is kind of a valid reason to leave Islam. Now, maybe she's a Christian, atheist, but it's a valid reason. That's not necessarily for us to decide.
Position. I'm not invalidating her experience. People in that situation tend to leave their religion. But does that make Islam false? I don't think so. I mean, it is a reason.
And last I checked, on the prompts that we are on, it's a valid reason to leave Islam. That's the question. It's not whether Islam is true or false. That's a whole different topic. But that's not what the prompt was asking.
But is it a valid one? No, it's not based on the truth, but on the lack thereof.
I had the Gideon's Bible that I saw because I was comparing. And as I would read from the Gospels, it feels as if I'm being drawn by the very words of this man, Christ. He offered me hope because around that time I had lost my dad and stuff. The point is, when I contrast that to Islam, now I'm not saying that's a uniform experience for everybody, but when I contrast that to Islam sometimes, I didn't really have that hope or joy.
Look, as lovely as this sounds, it's not a valid reason. Finding hope and joy is relative. You can find that in anything. Some have found hope and joy in gardening. It doesn't make gardening a religion. Again, I am not invalidating his experience, but that's the same reason the other lady gave for leaving Christianity for Islam.
But the Quran.
Wow, I think you're onto something here, bro. You're onto something here. They both gave the same reason for leaving their religion to another. I felt joy, I felt happiness. It feels good. Leading with their emotions. Obviously, you probably wouldn't admit to this, but they're very, really, that you're indoctrinated into your religion at an early age. It's where you find peace, where you find community. I mean, prayer is like a meditation. You feel peaceful. So, again, these are technically valid reasons to leave the religion based on a personal level. To say it's not valid doesn't make any sense. And I think it's trying to judge this based on, oh, is it a valid reason? The valid reason has to be like the religion is not true, so you leave. No, I don't think that's ever. I don't know who decided that standard, but that's not a standard for leaving a religion. It could literally just be based on your experience. If you leave a church, that's solely based on your experience. It's not about whether Jesus exists or not. You could base that solely on your experience. Or you could base on, I don't know, whether the entire religion is true or not.
I did not understand it. I did not know what was being said. But every time I'll go to bed, I sleep listening to the Quran because it gave me peace.
And that's my point. This can go both ways.
I am an ex-Muslim. I was born and bred into a predominantly, Muslim family. I found Christ, firstly, through healing. So when I was young, I would have scary dreams, bad dreams. I was very afraid. And my mother not knowing exactly what to do about this, would take us to a church. And there, the dreams stopped. And so that
Jeez. Yeah, so our experience is definitely valid. Again, you can't necessarily judge this. There's many people, a lot of people, millions of people around the world that believes in miracle healing. That people can get healed. You were having bad dreams, you went into a church, and then the bad dream stopped because you were dreaming while you were in the church. Or at some point after going to church, you stopped dreaming. You did not even think maybe there's other factors. No, it has to be the church.
started a lot of questions.
Healing and supernatural encounters like this are very compelling, I won't deny that. But are they valid reasons? I mean, look at the Bible. Moses tells us that a false prophet may perform wondrous signs and miracles, yet they are still false. Paul warns us that an angel might appear to us with a false gospel. Even an angelic being can be an agent of deceit. And even experiencing a miracle is still personal and relative. And like other reasons, it only serves to confirm Salama's position.
Which still brings me back to the point that
You know what's funny? She became a flicking Christian as an ex Muslim. She became a Christian. Yet he's saying it's not a valid reason to leave with a supernatural encounter and a supernatural healing from Jesus. So I guess the question is, how do we even know your religion is true? When there's a promise of a supernatural events like, oh, all my disciples, when I leave, will have more power than me, and they will be able to heal, raise up the dead, which we are not seeing, by the way. How exactly are we supposed to know your religion is true? Historical account? No, you don't really have any. We're just supposed to believe the story based on faith. You don't have current evidence of supernatural healing. You don't have a good historical account of supernatural healing or why we should believe any of it. Just someone writing it down. So this begs the question of what exactly can convince someone to be a Christian. If you're saying supernatural healing is not even a valid reason to convert.
it is personal.
But I don't agree with Salama. I'm not a pluralist. And when it comes to Islam, the answer should always be a resounding yes. There are numerous valid reasons to keep a long distance from the religion of peace. But I'll give just one example. Quran 4 verse 24 in Sahih International says, also prohibited for you are all married women except those your right hands possess. In Pictor, it says, all married women are forbidden unto you, save those captives whom your right hands possess. What does this mean? Well, let's hear it from the highly regarded commentary of Ibn Kathir. This verse means you are prohibited from marrying women who are already married, except those whom you acquire through warfare. Imam Ahmed reported that Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said, we captured some women from the area of Autas who were already married, and we disliked having sexual relations with them because they already had husbands. So we asked the Prophet about this matter, and this ayah was revealed. Consequently, we had sexual relations with these women. This is the wording collected by Al-Timidi and Nasai, Ibn Jari, and Sahih Muslim. So in interpreting Surah 4 verse 24, Ibn Kathir referred to the narration reported in multiple hadiths on the event that led to this verse. And these are credible hadiths reporting this, okay? Here are the references. You can go and read the narrations in full. But essentially what happened was that Muhammad and his army of peaceful Muslims went to war against the pagans and otters. And there they were able to capture some gorgeous pagan Arab women. Whew! But these objects of temptation were married. And that's no bueno for Muslims. At that time, the Prophet had
I had to pause it at some point, even though it's an interesting narration of stories and BS. It doesn't even really matter because they can marry multiple women and their religion allows it. But again, how does does he not read the Bible? Does he not read his own Bible that allows literally the same thing? And I'm gonna put the verse on the screen so we can all see it. I don't have it in my head right now. I didn't. cram the entire Bible, but so goes something along the line of if you go to war and you capture some few women that are virgins, you could take them in as your wife after a month, obviously, to make sure they're not pregnant. You could capture them and taking them as your wife, obviously, because they will consent to this. That that's in the Bible. I believe I saw a video not too long ago of someone putting. If I'm not sure if I even reacted on this or not, of someone putting a Quran. Actually, wrong. Someone putting a Bible and covered it with a Quran and saying, telling people it's a Quran and reading the verse from it, and people are confused to whether it's from the Quran or from the Bible. They couldn't differentiate whichever. Obviously, with the popular notion of Quran is being terrible and there's multiple verses, it allows you to beat your wife, have multiple wives, and all these terrible things that it does to women, all these terrible things that it allows extreme groups to go crazy. The Bible is not any better. And the fact that Christians can see that is just a little terrifying when you can find the same verses in the Bible. And yet you're pointing fingers to random people, to Muslims, and saying, "Oh my God, look at your Quran. It's saying this and that." That's not good. That's not allowed. I'm not defending Islam, by the way. It's also BS. Both religions are based on lies. The people strongly believe, and just because they believe it doesn't make it true. Let's continue the video.
Had revealed Allah's disapproval of sex with other people's wives. But there they were in the desert, burning with lust for the wives of their enemies. So they went to Muhammad seeking a remedy. Did Muhammad rebuke them and tell them to be chaste and not give in to lust and adultery? Did he encourage them to be good and tell them that heaven awaits those who resist the urge to covet their neighbors' wives? No, he did not say any of that. That's not his style. Instead, Muhammad received a revelation, a fresh update from Angel Gabriel, which proudly says, all married women are forbidden unto you, O slave of Allah, except those captives whom your right hands possess. When the peaceful Muslims had
I must remind you of the story of David. The man was, I mean, he probably had multiple wives at that time. Not sure. I need an update on the story. But he was craving for somebody else's wife. And you know what he did? He killed the husband by sending him to the front of the war and took the wife and had a baby with him. Baby with her. So, like I said, you can find the same damn stories in the Bible.
this latest recitation from their prophet. Hey, they shouted, Alhamdulillah, Mashallah, Allahu Akbar, and straight away they went to these captive women. And I can guarantee that the sex was very consensual, very cutesy, very mindful, very demure. I mean, just use your imagination. This is Islam. It allows men to rape women held captive or held as slaves as long as their right hands possess them. Muhammad did it, and so did his companions. Even today, the consensus among jurists render this practice permissible. It is in the Quran, it's in the Hadith, it is an undisputed part of Sharia. I mean, I wish
That's a valid reason to leave Islam. Those are valid reasons to leave Islam. Reading that your holy book is highly intervened and men have put in so much shenanigans in it that to an extent you can't even depict which one is the word of God, even though it was written by man, and which one was just heavily influenced by man. Like this. Why would God write something in there saying you could take captive women and basically rape them? Basically have unconsent intercourse with them. And like I've said, this is also in the Bible. This just shows the heavy influence of men, the people in power for a long ass time because of patriarchy. So again, it doesn't make sense that he's pointing this out in Islam and he's not able to see it in Christianity.
I was making this up, but I'm not. I mean, if rape is evil and Allah permits rape, then Allah is permitting something evil. How then can you call him merciful? He's not. He's brutal, cruel, and despicable. He doesn't deserve your worship. He deserves ridicule and disdain. So I find it interesting and ironic when a woman, especially one who identifies as a feminist, claims to be a Muslim.
I'm Salama, a Muslim and a feminist.
Look, I'm not trying to mock anyone. It's not uncommon to find
So I guess we're going on a rant on reasons to leave Islam. And yes, I guess you could be a Muslim and a feminist. It's two contradicting things that you are. But based on the religion itself that cracks open your head and puts multiple gaps in your reasoning, it makes perfect sense that someone could say they're a feminist and they are Muslim. It's perfectly okay, actually. It's perfectly makes sense that someone would say I'm a Christian and I'm a feminist too, even though their religious texts contradict them being feminist, contradicts them having the right to do basic things.
people who don't understand what it means to be what they claim to be. But I'm encouraging everyone to seek to understand the ideology or
Yeah, people who don't understand what they don't understand what they claim they are or what they claim they believe in. People who don't read their Bible. Huh. I'm looking at one right now. Huh.
religion they profess. Personal experience is not enough. You might find peace, joy, and sound sleep by
Geez, personal experience is not enough. And I agree. We finally found a solid ground where we both can stand. I agree. Personal experience is not enough. It was never enough. Personal experience is not a reason to be, oh my God, God exists. When you have no other evidence and everything that we have found contradicts the idea that God exists. So, personal experience and believing in personal testimony of miracles is not enough. I'm curious to see if I can find a video of him explaining why he's a Christian. When everything he has said in this video basically contradicts his belief in Christianity.
listening to Quran recitations in Arabic. I can't invalidate that experience, but bear in mind that what is being recited may include Surah 424, and that shouldn't make you sleep, it should wake you up. And that is just one video. Trust me, there are many more, and I'll be mentioning them when I react to the next prompt in the next video, and you don't want to miss it, so subscribe and ring that notification bell. Also, like
Yeah, that would be interesting. It's not about oppression, it's about justice. I'm curious to who is going to raise their hand in support of that. So there we have it, folks. A guy that has faith in Christianity and judging Islam, saying, "Oh my God, in Quran, Muhammad allowed people that are conquered to take them as your wife or your slave or whatever, and have sexual intercourse that is not consensual with them." Forgetting that the Bible has literally the same thing. That's all I have for you today. If you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a lovely day, people.